Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. In this one we'll talk about Hive openings. I'll give you some tips and explain basic concepts of the opening. Basically how you can play the first 5-10 moves safely. Then a new video will follow with more advanced concepts. But let's start from the basics. First one is the first bug. The first bug is quite important. Most of the time you'll see a ladybug or a pillbug for two different reasons. So the ladybug is good because you can jump out at some point during the game. The first bug gets stuck for quite a long time usually, but if the right conditions apply, so basically if there is a fill, for example, so if this space gets taken, then the ladybug can jump out. And when the hive becomes very crowded, let's say there's an ant here, yeah, I don't know, let's say another ant here. Whenever this space gets taken, the ladybug can get out, or a hopper will do the same, but not a spider or ant, for example. So the first bug usually needs to be something that can get out, defend, and possibly even attack at the same time. Okay. The pill bug is also very common, but for another reason. The reason is that if the pill bug is very close to your queen, then it will defend your queen very efficiently, and you don't need to spend time to put your pill bug later on in the game. Okay, that's the main idea. Other pieces as a first bug, they're probably less useful. I don't recommend to start with an ant at all, for example. The spider in some cases can be good, but that's probably thoughts for another video. Beetle and mosquito is something you can probably experiment a bit with, but I will start with either a ladybug or a hopper or a pillbug. The second point to understand is flexibility. This is very important. In the opening, the hive gets built up over a few moves. At the beginning, you don't know exactly what shape is taken, right? So the most important thing is to play some pieces that are as flexible as possible and can adapt to how the hive builds, and can potentially defend and attack at the same time. So the most flexible piece is the ant and possibly mosquito, while the least flexible piece are usually spider and hoppers. So if you put a spider here, for example, you only have two options in the future. You could go either here or here, which is somewhere you don't want to go anyway, probably. And black will just probably place a pillbug here and stop you, or a grasshopper, some other defensive piece, and you haven't achieved much in the end. But if you instead place an ant, then you have tons of options in the future, and you can easily adapt to what your opponent is doing. In the future, you can move it here, 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 wherever. You can pin a new piece that is coming up, all sorts of things. Or you can even leave it there and play another mosquito, which means that now you have potentially two ants, and you can quickly adapt to what is going on, whatever strategy you want to follow anyway. So flexibility is the key. Another issue is that if you start to place your ants too late, then your opponent's going to do that, and then they're going to have control of what to pin and where. So for example, if you place a hopper, your opponent plays an ant, and you decide to go for a beetle, for example, your opponent has already two ants in play, and they have control of what is going to happen next. Especially if you want to place an ant now, you're going to suffer from this, because whatever you place down is going to be pinned by your opponent. There are some cases where you can sacrifice pieces, or you want to place other pieces down, like a beetle, maybe you want to quickly attack. But in general, it's a good idea to place as many ants down as possible quickly in order to react to your opponent. Okay, third idea to keep in mind is safety of the queen. This is very important, of course, because you don't want to lose quickly your game. You have always to keep an eye on your queen. There are mainly two ways to keep your queen safe. One is, as we said, to play as many ants down as possible in order to react to your opponent. Usually this is what is called the two defenders rule. So if you have at least 2 ants in play, you can easily defend against a beetle attack. And the second idea instead is to place a pillbug down as soon as possible. Let's say white plays this, white plays all the ants down, then black plays the pillbug, and this allows the queen to escape in difficult situations. So don't delay too much the pillbug placement. One more thing is avoid to place your pieces next to your queen if they cannot jump out or climb up. So for example, this setup for black is fine, it's very typical. The mosquito can take the ladybug power to jump out at some point. But try to avoid this kind of thing, because the ant will be pinned on your queen, and then you will not only have the queen pinned but also your ant pinned. In some cases, can be used as a sacrifice, but generally speaking, that's not what you want to happen. Okay, fourth concept is mobility. Try to keep your mobility as high as possible. What is mobility? Is your ability to move the pieces that you have placed on the ground. And so how you do that? So mainly, the main concept to understand is try not to put your pieces in a string that will self-pin all your pieces. For example, this kind of setup is not, I cannot advise that. In some cases can be useful, but the thing is that whenever this happens, your opponent will be able to pin 2 pieces at the same time. Okay, so try to instead to play shapes that are as compact as possible. So this is a compact shape, okay, which gives flexibility and mobility for all the 3 pieces, while this is exactly the opposite. Okay, in some cases can actually be useful, but for example, when you play the anti-spawn defense, this is so-called anti-spawn defense because prevents the opponent from placing a beetle here and attacking directly the queen. And at this point, if you remember my previous tip, you don't want to place an ant here, 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 because that would be next to your queen, and then it could be directly pinned. So you probably want to place an ant here, which seems counterintuitive because again we form a string of pieces we don't want to, but this will be only a temporary sacrifice, and at the same time it keeps the pillbug anchored next to the queen in place, so that whenever there is a mosquito here, they cannot warp the pillbug away. But generally speaking, a compact shape is what you want, something like this. For the same reason, try not to place the queen too far from the center. For example, white setup is more solid than black setup. In some cases, it might work. There are some openings where black plays something like this, but definitely not here, for instance. There are definitely too many pieces in between the center and the queen. So try to keep it as close as possible. Because otherwise you would pin all, self-pin all your pieces in the middle. A pillbug is not too bad because it doesn't need to actually move anywhere. You want it just to protect your queen, but for example, you don't want to pin your own mosquito here for no reason. Okay. So try to be compact and put the queen as close as possible to the center. The exceptions will be discussed in the next video. So the last concept for today is tempo, which means time in Italian. The tip is don't move the same piece twice in the opening, because you would lose time. For example, if white decides to attack the queen straight away, do not change plan and go back and pin the ant, because now you will find yourself behind in development. Now black has 2 ants down effectively, and you will pin the next 2 ants that white will bring in play, or whatever piece white brings in play. So white instead should have kept the ant here and place another ant itself, or maybe a mosquito, or attack with the beetle. That would be more efficient. In the same way, try not to move your queen if it's not necessary. Most of the time the queen will be safe where it is, and you don't need to move it. If you move the queen, then you lose a crucial tempo in the opening, and that will be hard to recover. In some cases the queen can be moved, but usually to get out of an opponent attack, or to create some sort of situation where you can free some other bugs. But otherwise, just place the queen and focus on developing the other pieces. Okay, that was all. I hope it's been useful, and I'll see you in the next video with more advanced concepts. If you like the video, like, subscribe to the channel. Bye.